Good evening, Rust Skin Enjoyers. It's time to do a little bit of talking. Right, so it's the 8th of August, it's in the evening, and I thought to myself, you know what? I reckon there's a good video I could probably talk about. Talking about Halloween, Rust Halloween to be precise. Now, last year, I just want to introduce you to a video that I made. It's in my helpful Rust Skin Investing videos playlist. This is Rust Halloween items, best time to sell. So basically, in this video, I'm going to touch upon the details I talked in regards to this video, and I'm also going to reference this other video here, Halloween item long-term investing. So as you can see, last year I made these two videos. This was before Halloween, and this was literally after the first Rust rotation for the first Halloween Rust. I'm sure you get the idea. So we're basically going to have a bit of an amalgamation talking about these two videos, but the main focus will be understanding how to approach doing buy orders and preparing to invest into Halloween, after Halloween has ended. Because personally, that's where I think most of the profit is. So you might be a little bit confused. That's fair, that's fine. But just, sit back, relax. We're about to jump in. We're about to start talking. So, last year's Halloween, as you can see right here, this was the first Halloween Rust store for 2022. And then, of course, you got to remember Halloween has two Rust store rotations. So this was week 2. So the first week had 11 new skins, and the second week had 15 new skins. The first week was a competition. I believe that happens every single year. Basically, the skin creators will submit all their skins, and then they get picked out for best-looking skins, I guess. I don't fully know how it all works, but yeah, this was a competition, and then these were just extra skins that happen to look really cool. Now, you might be sitting there saying right now, Hedge, are there any skins I should buy? And, as we slowly approach to Halloween, is there an investment to be made? Is there any profits? No. No, honestly, it's awkward. It's not like Christmas. Halloween skins are very, very, very weird. They don't really retain their value. I mean, most holiday-themed items don't retain their value when the holiday is over. Like, you don't want to have Halloween skins when it's like Christmas time. You don't want to have Christmas skins when it's like June time, if that makes sense. So, the second it's out of season, people don't seem to care for it, unless it's completely special in its own right. For example, zombie bearskin rug. We hardly ever see any bearskin rug skins being accepted, let alone a glow-in-the-dark one. And then Nat Furnace, well, he just looks really scary. So therefore, cool, let's buy it. So that kind of makes sense. So if you can't really make a profit out of investing into Rust skins, actually there's one I am aware of. There's one skin I am aware of, which kind of usually goes up in price, in the lead up to Halloween every year. It's the Pumpkin Rock. This was accepted like 5 years ago, but it's something I always usually see spike up in price. So right now it's only $4, but every lead up to Halloween, every single year, I'll show you the history, right? So, in the lead up to Halloween, it usually goes all the way up to about $8 to $9. Last year, for example, as you can see right here, so yeah, it goes up in price pretty significantly every single year around October, but the very second Halloween ends, it goes down, down, down. So that's the only one that I'm fully aware of. Anyway, back over to here. So, yeah. Most Halloween Rust skins don't really retain their value, which is a fair bit awkward, and therefore, technically speaking, it's probably not a good idea to invest into them. So what can you do? How can you still potentially make a profit out of Halloween? Items. The special items that we see being introduced every single year, or rather, reintroduced. So this is the first thing that you need to be aware of. Every Halloween, we see a big batch of these items being reintroduced every single year. Now, first thing you're probably asking is, what's an item? Right, well, do you understand how the zombie cap is basically a special texture for the cap? So, it's designated to the cap. Whereas, when you look at likes of the candle set right here, it's a completely unique item that Face Punch themselves made. And, you have to buy it. Technically speaking, you could sit there and say that's DLC. Technically speaking, if that's probably a better understanding, because that's a completely unique entity. You need to buy that to be able to make that. You could still make a cap, but if you wanted a zombie cap, you'd have to buy the special skin, the texture. Does that make sense? This is a texture, this is an actual item with maybe a special property to it. Make sense? If you want to learn a lot more about items and whatnot, I do talk about that in my Rust Economy 101 series. So if we just go to the playlist, and if we go to Rust Economy 101, I do believe I talk about it in here, yes, or in here. Well, either of these two videos. Honestly, if you're completely new to Ruskin investing, you should look at this series. I'm pretty sure it will help out most people. So yeah, consider doing that. So anyway, items. They usually always get reintroduced. Not all of them though. So let's just be aware that last year we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 items introduced for Halloween last year. We also, you might be aware, last year we had 3 new items, that being the Cultist Deer Torch, the Hockey Mask, and the Baseball Bat. So those are new, but that's potentially a good thing. We'll talk more about that in a second. But the best thing that you're going to learn from is looking at the older ones, looking at the older items and getting a good idea of how their sales usually work throughout the years. So, for example, here's the Skull Rock. This has been around for 2 years now, I believe. Currently selling at $4.21. Let's go see its sales history. So, as you can see here, it goes a bit up, goes a bit down, goes a bit up. What's going on here? So basically, what you see here is the lead up to Halloween. But weirdly, it peaks around August time, then starts to go down during September, and then goes all the way down as we get into October. What happened here? Well, people are very well aware that these items are going to be reintroduced. And you have to be aware that usually these items are reintroduced into these Halloween rush stores at a set price. Do you see how this is above the price it sold for? What's going to happen when it sells for $4 again? This is going to be $4 in the Steam market again. A most notable one is usually the Cursed Cauldron. So, see Cursed Cauldron right here? Right now it's currently selling at $7.50. Well, that's a bit of a straggler. Most of them are selling at $8. So let's just say it's selling at $8. Well, usually you will see this go all the way up and then down. Go all the way up and then down. What's happened here? Basically, it gets reintroduced. So throughout the year, it rises up in price because it's a very cool looking fireplace. It glows green and whatnot, but it's always reintroduced at a set price around $5. So therefore, it crashes in price pretty quickly and pretty sharply. Why? Because it's selling at a set price. So yeah, it might, increase in price very nicely during the year, but it's always going to go down because it keeps being brought back at a set price, which is lower than what it's currently selling for on the Steam market. And many people are aware, and you will notice that the price of this tends to go down as we approach the actual October month. So, if you're currently owning any of these items, by default, I will sit here and say you probably want to sell them now. In fact, I could probably show you. Let's just quickly go over to here. So, you might notice that I've sold a few things. I've sold some Chinese lanterns, but yeah, I sold some mummy wraps earlier because at the price they're currently selling for, if we go back over to here, 73% higher than what they sold for when they were sold during this rust store. Yeah, I'm happy to sell them. There might potentially be a chance it doesn't get reintroduced though. That's another thing that we need to talk about. But for the price it's currently selling for, I bought it at a much cheaper price. I'm happy to sell it, and that's what I did. Now, what did I allude to? This potentially might not get reintroduced. Well, as I said, last year we had 12 Halloween items. Overall, we have a fair bit more, and you might notice that some of them didn't appear last year. Jack-o'-lanterns. So we've got the Angry and Happy one, the Scarecrow, Skull Fire Pit, Surgeon Scrubs, Skull Door Knocker. What happened to all of these? Well, they just weren't reintroduced ever again. So, for the case of the Surgeon Scrubs and the Skull Door Knocker, they only appeared in 2019, and then they were never brought back. It's very comfortably high in the price now. $36 almost. Actually, that's a straggler. These are all $40 plus, so maybe it can go even higher. Same with the Skull Door Locker. Yep, so as you can see, sold for $4 in 2019, never brought back. Now it's selling for just under $11, so that's looking pretty good. This potentially could happen to one of these items, and we saw this happen last year with Skull Fire Pit. This is a bit of a weird item because it usually appears for Halloween, then doesn't appear, then does, then doesn't, does. It usually appears every other Halloween. It's a bit weird. And we can show you this with smm.app real quick. So once it loads in, we can take a look to the left and see all the times it's being reintroduced. So 2017, 2019, 2021. So it skipped 2018, 2020, and it skipped 2022. What do you reckon might potentially happen this year? Do you reckon it'll come back? It looks like it might. So, if that were to be reintroduced, there's a possibility that we potentially might see one of these items not be brought back. Now, last year, with that Skull Fire Pit, when we saw it wasn't reintroduced, it actually spiked in demand and spiked in price a fair bit. In fact, maybe I should have shown that. So, yeah, it wasn't a massive, huge gain, and of course it didn't last forever, but if we just take a look at this real quickly, we can see its history, we can look at last year when it takes its time. Come on, Steam, don't be shy, let's go take a look right now. This is currently selling at $5.80, and if we just scroll down, how did it behave last year? So, here we are. You might notice it going up a little bit here. So, like, what was it? Like 80 of them sold here. When people realized it wasn't being brought back, a big chunk of them sold. It went up to about $7, $8 at one point. And then, well, the interest just kind of didn't really stick around. It was awkward. Yeah. So, we routinely see this happen a lot with the Skull Fire Pit, but we don't see it happen much with the other items. In fact, it would be a very big surprise. Now, of course, last year we also saw 3 new Halloween items being introduced: Cultist Deer Torch, Hockey Mask and Baseball Bat. If we potentially see even more being introduced this year, there's a very good chance some of these Halloween items won't be brought back, because technically speaking they'll be replaced. And maybe they might be brought back in the future, who knows? But just know, if they don't, if they've been replaced, they very likely could go up in price. And now you understand there's a little bit of a risk if you want to sell these items immediately. Take, for example, mummy wraps. Maybe this doesn't get brought back. Maybe me selling this right now potentially could be a bad thing. But I'm content to take the profit that I got, use that profit for another adventure. I'm happy with that. There's been many things in the past where I sold a little bit too early and missed out on more profit. But you know what? I don't see it like that. I see me just continually moving on with new adventures and doing different investments. I keep my head out. I keep my head up held high. Otherwise, I'll be very depressed. So, yeah, you got to understand this. And now, I accidentally leaked this earlier, but here we go. You might notice that I've almost exhausted my account. £1,700 is the absolute maximum I can have for a Steam account, which I always have written down here, as you can see. So this equals to, I can have up to £17,000 worth of total buy orders. So as you see, all of these buy orders add up, and I can technically, if I could exhaust this account and get it all the way up to 1,700, I could probably do another £500 worth of buy orders, and then the account can't do anything. It can't add any more money. It can't do any more buy orders. It's just stuck. But it can still buy all the things that have a buy order on. So, what I did was I did some strategic buy orders, and as you might notice, this is where the planning part really takes effect. So what we've been talking about throughout all of this video, you can see that I've learned from the past and saw the lowest points that these items sold for after Halloween, and I've put a buy order very close to what they were. So if we go back to the Skull Rock, for example, as you can see here, this buy order was put in place, £1.90, which is equal to around $2.50 at the moment. Right, so Halloween last year was its first reintroduction. Basically, it was the first Halloween Rustore where this was brought back, because it came out first time ever in the previous Halloween. So, me seeing this, I saw its lowest point, and its lowest point was about $3, but in my currency, that's $2.34, and £1.90 is fairly close to that. Fairly close to the point where if I bought it, I could sell it again afterwards and get my money back, or maybe just a little bit more. So it's a fairly safe buy order, but it's really close to around here. So if I've got a good idea of where it might end up at its lowest, I could pick up a big fat chunk of these at a cheap price, and from then on, everything from then on would be a profit. Might not be a massive profit initially, but if I just be comfortable and calm and wait it out, you can see how it easily went back up in price. This was selling for $5 at one point. That would basically be me doubling my money. And now you get it. You get it now, don't you? You could go through all the items right now, figure out a good buy order, if you can afford it, and then, of course, do buy orders exactly like that with the Skull Rock. And I've done it for a few of them. Maybe I could do a few more. I could do, but I've got other accounts which also have buy orders. As you can see, I do have a lot of other accounts. But, I've got myself all nice and planned and figured out, and I did some buy orders here that would work out very nicely in the long term, because like I said, when this account is exhausted, I can't do anything on it, right? So I'll just leave it to do its thing. It'll be able to buy all the things that I have from buy orders, if someone actually sells them at those prices. But I have reason to believe they will eventually go to those prices. So I'm looking forward. I'm just gonna wait and see if everything works out all right. And yeah, I have reason to believe, with the little bit of research that I did, I will catch a whole bunch of these. And as I already showed you earlier, I bought one of these earlier for $1. The problem is it looks like like at that instance, that was the final buy order I had in that account. It would have been nice to show you the buy order was still there, but yeah, it is what it is. But hey, look, I bought a whole bunch of these for very cheap, 103 to be precise. Maybe there's even more. Maybe some of them are grouped up. Yeah. Oh, I got Cultist Deer Torches. Oh, 137 of them. Just know I bought them for cheap as well. Yeah. Whoa, do I still have a buy order in this? Can we see that? Apparently not. But, this very likely will potentially still go up in price in the lead up to October. We have to be aware, especially with likes of Hockey Mask. That sold for $8 last year. If this gets reintroduced in the Halloween Rush store at around $8 or maybe $7, there's a very good chance people will buy these from the Steam market because they'll notice it on the Rust store and they'll see that, oh wow, this is $8 or $7, but on the Steam market it's a lot cheaper. I think I'd rather buy it there from there instead. And people potentially will go to the Steam market instead, and a massive chunk of them will get bought out. And maybe this potentially could go all the way up to, I don't know, not exactly $7 or $8, but maybe up to about $4 or $5. And considering I bought these for $1 to $1.50, I think, yeah, that will still be very nice profit. I'll be happy with that. So, yeah. It's not a good time now to jump in and buy these items. But if you prepared for it all beforehand and bought them for cheap throughout this year with a good buy order, because you put the effort in to figure out what prices they might end up at last year, then that's how you succeed. So you probably can't succeed with it this year, but you can prepare for next year. Does that make sense to you now? And again, these are new items. So yeah, you get the idea that there's a fairly decent chance that we might get some more new items this year, and yeah. Now, obviously, I couldn't predict properly how this was going to act, but I had the good intuition to realise this very likely wasn't going to retain its value. I remembered how the carvable pumpkin behaved, so I looked at that and I thought, you know what? It's just basically a metal face mask skin. Technically, it's an item, but technically, it's also just a face mask skin. I was like, I can't see it retaining its value. I went lowball on the buy orders, and yeah, that worked out. But as you have already seen, I do have buy orders and the likes of the skull spikes, the skulls, the candle sets. Yeah, I know there's a very good chance these are like these free skins. These items are like evergreen, cauldron, pumpkin. I'm confident they are definitely going to get reintroduced. So I've got those special buy orders down. Not all on just this account, I should remind you, because I got multiple accounts. Some with buy orders that were put down the very second those items first appeared marketable. So, I've got some very old buy orders. But yeah, that is essentially it. So we'll just see how it all plays out. But if you want to do this yourself, you've got to make sure you've got a decent amount of money to work with. You've got to figure out your buy order limits and whatnot. And, of course, when Halloween rolls in, I'll remind you about this video. And you can start figuring out what potentially might be a good buy order price to put down for those items. And throughout the course of the next year, you could potentially make some very nice investment and make a very good profit for Halloween 2024. Sounds good? Awesome. I know that was a big talk. I'm fully well aware. But this is long-term investing. You can't buy in now. It's far too late. But you could potentially sell now. Seems good. Reasonably okay to do that. But if you want to prepare to actually do some buy orders, you've kind of got to start preparing now. So you've got to try and get yourself a decent amount of money to be able to afford these buy orders. And you've got to understand that if you are successful in buying these, you're going to be spending money. So don't be surprised by that. This is why I'm trying to exhaust this account, because I don't care. If I can't put any more money in it, if I can't do any more buy orders in it, that account is exhausted. It can do whatever it wants. It can buy all the things that I've put down. I'm happy with that. I don't have to fuss about it. It's nice. It's really enjoyable. So yeah, that's why I'm totally fine with that. If you can do the same thing, then all good to you. You don't have to fully maximize an account. Just make sure you got a decent amount of money put down and you've completely exhausted. Like you literally cannot do another buy order in it. And that's fine. Just leave it to do its thing. And then, if you make a purchase and that's definitely going to be a profit. You could just trade it to another account and sell it on that account instead. It's easy. It's easy. It's easy. So, yeah. That's basically it. That was a bit of a ramble, wasn't it? But, these things are here to teach you something, help you be aware of what potentially might be happening in the future, and I am trying to help you out with profits and whatnot. So, with that, if you want to learn more about, learning about Rust skin investing, if you want to learn a little thing here and there, on my playlists, if we just click this, you can see I have a helpful Rust skin investing videos playlist. Every single video that you see here will teach you like a special thing. It's a unique, I don't know what's the word to say, a unique, interesting piece of knowledge per every single video that should help you out from here on now. And consider taking a look through all that. And you will see the likes of this video and this video in here as well. So, with that, thank you very much for watching me. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed yourself and have a fun time waiting for Halloween, I guess. Yeah, enjoy yourself. See you later. Bye.